My client had had 50 affairs with 50 different women. No joke. I knew that because the other lawyer in my client's deposition asked him about each one of those, which he could do in the deposition. My client admitted to each one of them, and that lawyer went through each one meticulously. He had phone records, he had names, he had everything he needed. He had spent hours and hours gathering that information, charged his client probably $10,000 to get all that information, and by golly, he was going to use it, and he did. We get to trial. He starts the same thing, asking my client about all these different affairs. I jumped up and I said, Your Honor, I object. We're going to be here all day. My client's committed adultery. That's all they need is to prove one case of adultery, and that's grounds for divorce. Why sit here all day and listen to all the different affairs? The judge thought for a second. He said, you're right. I'm going to sustain your objection and exclude all of these other affairs. We only need one. Don't ever let them see you sweat. I was told that by an old judge after a trial that I had one time. What had happened was everything was going great. I had my client on the witness stand. She was doing an excellent job of testifying about every issue in the case. The other lawyer got up to cross-examine my client. And when she did, she pulled out pictures of my client with another man. My client had been having an affair. She told me she wasn't. She lied to me. I was taken aback by that. I threw my arms up. I looked at her. I was so angry at her for not telling me the truth. And I knew that was going to damage her case, and it did. The judge ruled against me in that case. But after trial, he called me up to the bench. He said, Mr. Richter, let me talk to you for a second. You are a young lawyer, and this was years ago when I was a young lawyer. You need to understand that you cannot let them see you sweat. When something happens that doesn't go your way, you got to be stoic. You can't let them see you. Hey, I just got back from vacation. I went out to Destin, Florida for a week, first week of May. Had a great time. That's a great beach, great little town, great food. If you get a chance, you ought to go there. On the way down, we stopped in Montgomery, Alabama and spent the night. In the hotel we stayed in, we had points. So we were able to use points and stay for free, essentially using those points. What we do is we use our credit cards and we charge things and we get points for all the things that we charge. We pay those cards off within 30 days, so there's no interest. So we get the benefit of having hotel points. I've seen people with 30 days worth of points saved up where they can stay for 30 days at a hotel. That has value. A lot of lawyers miss that. In that particular situation, that was worth about $3,600, $1,800 for each party. The husband who had the points kept the points because they're non-transferable. The wife got an extra $1,800, which represented half the value of those points in the divorce. You got to watch for that. It's tax time. May 17th is the new deadline for filing your taxes. One question I get asked a lot is, are child support payments deductible from income for tax purposes? The answer is no. The reason? Well, when you pay child support, you're essentially offsetting the cost of raising that child, feeding, clothing, and sheltering that child. If you were married to the other parent of that child to whom you're paying child support, then you and the other parent would be paying that money out of pocket to raise that child, the food, clothing, and sheltering of that child. So that money's not deductible from income taxes. Now, there's certain expenses that are deductible. You need to talk to your tax professional to determine what those are. Things such as private school tuition, daycare expenses, things like that can be deducted in certain situations. But child support per se is not deductible from income for determining taxes. I've got a mediation coming up in a couple of days with a mediator that likes to have both parents in the same room, sitting across from each other at the same table while she conducts the mediation. She's very effective at this. She gets the parents to look at each other and talk about what the real issues are in the case. And she starts off by finding common ground, what both parties agree on, such as Christmas. Both parents should have time with the child on Christmas Day. And she'll get to that issue first, and then she'll work from there and find out where the conflict is, and then she'll come back around to that. She's good at that. Now, some mediators don't like doing it that way. Some mediators like having the parties in separate rooms. It just depends. It depends on the style of the mediator and the issues in the case. Sometimes the parties are so at issue with each other and they have such conflict that it doesn't work doing that. But in this particular case, I think it's going to work, and I think we're going to settle that case. Hey, did your lawyer forget the frequent flyer miles? Lots of lawyers do. I bet your lawyer did. I had a case a few years ago where the husband was working for a huge corporation and he was flying around the world. He flew to China, he flew to Korea, to Mexico, to Australia, even went to Russia. And he earned so many frequent flyer miles that when it came time to get divorced, we had to put a value on those. They're worth something. And a lot of times the airlines will not let you divide them up in a divorce case or after you die. In other words, you can't transfer them to somebody else. They actually belong to the airline and they let the person who earned them use them, but only that person. Now, occasionally the airlines will let you divide them up, but if not, you have to put a value on them. And in that case, we put a value of almost $30,000 on those frequent flyer miles, and the wife got $15,000 more out of the divorce settlement than she would have gotten otherwise. Don't let your lawyer make that mistake.